The city of New Harbor was a sprawling maze of cold steel and unforgiving concrete. In its forgotten alleys and shadowy corners lived Elias Thornton, a man with a roadmap of a life etched onto his face. His beard, a testament to a quiet resilience, was streaked with grey, and his eyes, though tired, still held a faint glimmer of a past life. He pushed a rickety grocery cart, a vessel for scavenged treasures, old books, broken clocks, and to neatly folded blankets that he never used. Years ago, Elias wasn't a shadow. He was a craftsman, the proud owner of Elias Fix-It shop on Maple Avenue, a tiny space that smelled of solder and sawdust. It was here he mended everything from vintage radios to stubborn toasters. His life was full, warmed by his wife, Clara, a woman whose laughter was the truest melody he'd ever known, and their son, Liam, who once declared his dad was the smartest man in the world. But sickness came, a silent thief that stole Clara first, then his home, his shop, and finally, his son. Liam, 17 and hurting, left one day, and Elias was left with nothing but the echoes of a life he once had. He wandered the streets, a quiet ghost in his own city, never asking for help, never complaining. He knew the secrets of the city's underbelly, which vents blew warm air, which dumpsters offered stale bread, and which soup kitchens served the best chili. But his life of routine was shattered on a bitter November morning. The sky hung low and heavy as Elias cut through the alley behind Westwood Market. He was about to pass the large green dumpster when he heard it, a faint, desperate sound, not a cat's cry, but something smaller, more human. His heart in his throat. Elias lifted the heavy lid. Inside, tucked between two overflowing trash bags, were two newborns, a boy and a girl. Their skin was a deep chocolate brown, and they were barely wrapped in a flimsy, stained towel. The boy was crying softly, his tiny fists clenched. The girl was silent, her eyes fluttering with a fragile, almost imperceptible movement. Without a moment's hesitation, Elias shed his old coat, wrapping the two fragile lives inside and pressing them against his chest. "You're okay," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I've got you." He didn't think, he just moved. He stumbled through the icy streets, his old body aching, his arms numb. He burst into street. Jude's hospital. The bright lights and antiseptic smell a stark contrast to the world he knew. He placed the bundled babies on the reception desk. "Please," he gasped, "they need help." A whirlwind of nurses and doctors surrounded the infants. One nurse, a kind woman with warm eyes named Dr. Anya Sharma, gently took his arm. "Where did you find them?" she asked. "In a dumpster," he said, his voice raw with emotion. Behind Westwood Market, Elias spent the night in the waiting room, a silent sentinel. The hospital staff brought in coffee and dry socks, but he refused to leave. The next morning, Dr. Sharma approached with a smile that reached her eyes. "They made it," she said. "Both of them. We've named them Omari and Caleb for now. They're stable." Elias' shoulders slumped with relief, and he wept, a quiet, broken sob that held 20 years of unspoken grief. In the weeks that followed, Elias became a fixture at the hospital, sitting outside the nursery window, watching the twins grow stronger. He found a piece of his heart he thought had died with Clara and Liam. He even started fixing things again, old radios, broken bicycles, giving them to local shelters. He felt a purpose he hadn't known in decades. But all too soon, social services arrived. Elias, with no home or income, had no legal standing. He couldn't adopt them. Dr. Sharma stood with him as the twins were taken away to foster care. "You saved them, Elias," she said. "That matters." He nodded, tears blurring his vision, and returned to the streets. 20 years vanished. Elias's beard was now a pure, luminous white, and his movements were slower, his hands more brittle. He lived in the Haven House shelter, a quiet man who mended broken flashlights and offered gentle advice. Every year on that cold November day, he would return to the alley behind Westwood Market, not to mourn, but to honor the day that reminded him he was not invisible. He would leave a small offering, a warm scarf or a pair of mittens, a quiet thank you to the universe. He never expected a letter. The envelope was heavy, with a return address he didn't recognize. His name, Mr. Elias Thornton, was written in a confident hand. The message inside was simple, handwritten on thick cardstock. Dear M.R. Thornton, you once saved 2 lives. We never forgot. Please be our guest of honor at the Riverside Gala. December 12th, 6 p.m. Formal attire not required. Just bring yourself. There was no signature. On the night of the gala, Elias wore his best clothes, a donated navy coat and polished shoes. He took the bus to Riverside, his heart thrumming with a mix of apprehension and disbelief. The building was magnificent, a beacon of light and music. A hostess at the front desk greeted him by name and led him into a ballroom filled with people in elegant suits and flowing gowns. The lights dimmed, and a young man with a neatly braided hair and a confident demeanor took the microphone. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we're not just here for a charity event. We're here to honor a legacy. A second, taller man with a warm smile stood beside him. The first man's voice was full of emotion as he continued, 20 years ago, my sister and I were abandoned. We don't remember that day, but we will never forget the man who gave us life. A man with nothing but his coat, who didn't walk past, but who gave us everything when he had nothing. Elias felt his knees buckle as the 2 men stepped off the stage and walked toward him. I'm Amari, the first one whispered, his voice thick with emotion. And I'm Caleb, the taller one said, embracing him. You gave us our first home, your coat. We've been looking for you ever since we were old enough. Elias couldn't speak. Tears streamed down his weathered face as the entire room gave him a standing ovation. Amari stepped back, his voice now strong and clear. Because of Elias, I became a pediatric oncologist. And Caleb, here, is a structural engineer who just started a non-profit to build affordable homes for displaced families. A chorus of applause filled the room. Then, on a large screen behind them, an image of a cozy house with a porch swing and a small garden appeared. Caleb held out a set of keys to Elias. This is yours, he said. Fully paid for, in your name. Elias gasped. I can't possibly. You already did, Amari said, taking his hand. And there's more. A monthly stipend, full medical coverage, and a workshop in the backyard, fully stocked. Just in case you ever want to keep fixing things. Elias sat, overwhelmed. Why me? He whispered. Why now? Caleb smiled. Because you didn't wait for thanks. You did it when no one else would. The story of Elias's rescue and reunion became a headline, a tale of kindness and unexpected destiny. 2 weeks later, he moved into his new home. Neighbors welcomed him with food and smiles, and kids brought him broken toys and radios to fix. Every Friday, Amari and Caleb would visit, their laughter filling the small house. They would sit with Elias, a family finally reunited. Elias would look at them, not for their titles or their success, but because in them he saw that love had come full circle. The man who had once saved 2 abandoned babies was now surrounded by the warmth of family, proving that even a broken life could be mended and a lost home could be found again.